Well, how do you feel about the use of AI in sound? Because I feel like sound is the first area where AI is becoming kind of a compelling tool in some cases.
Is this for voices or?
Well, like I have two questions because for voices it seems, I don't know, the performances I've seen in AI voices aren't great, but a lot of cases you don't need, like, you just need put like the people that walk down the street in GTA that have conversations you can hear, things like that. It might be useful for that, but I don't know.
It's funny. I would say that's almost the opposite.
Oh, really?
I would say, because the voices in the poetry of overhearing people just saying random stuff on the street. That's one of my favorite things about GTA. And I feel like that's actually the opposite. If you had AI doing that, you'd lose that, because the actors they use for that, like, they get such funny, good, believable performances on a lot of those lines that you hear. I don't know, maybe I feel like AI would kind of spoil that. But again, I don't know.
Probably. But also, the amount of work you'd have to do to prompt an AI to get a performance out of somebody is probably more work than it would take to actually direct an actor.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of AI doing voices. I think it has its place. I think, like, for scratch recordings, again, kind of what we were talking about, getting sound in early so that you can get the feedback, the aural feedback of things happening in the game, in the sense of timing.
Oh, sure.
Especially for voices, because if people are saying things during important gameplay moments or important other moments in the game, having to wait for them to say the line, sometimes you're like, maybe this line needs to be said more quickly or fewer words, like all kinds of stuff like that comes up. So anyway, to get scratch voices in early, AI sounds like a great idea, and that's what's done a lot right now. Is like you get, we're talking about synthetic. It's not so much AI. I guess AI makes synthetic voices now. Yeah. But we've already had synthetic voices in use for this purpose before, and so if AI can make them sound slightly more believable, that's great. I just kind of think once that's done, then you get actors, real humans, to do the parts. There's going to be games that are done with complete AI casts.
But of course, if you're doing scratch voices, you kind of don't want them to be that good, because you want to make sure they're replaced.
You don't want them to get too attached. That's just like using scratch temp music on something and the director loves it.
Yeah.
Sorry, we don't own this music. We can't use it. And same sound effects or the video edit in film and video. There's this growing. I don't know if it's still growing, but there was a growing trend of people who are doing the actual edit of the film, like the video part, would sometimes chuck sounds in, because again, they want that timing feedback, and they put sounds in because they want to get a sense of the time, and the sound helps with that. And then the director's like, I like that sound, keep it. And the sound design team's like, what? Because often it's not the sound they would have chosen for that. I don't know if that's the right or wrong thing, but
is AI more applicable to sound effects then? Because you could kind of maybe prompt it to be like, I need a bird that's...
There's AI that'll do that kind of thing too, and I've heard it, and it's kind of hit or miss. Like what it sounds like is a really rough, crappy pass sometimes, and it gets it right. It'll get the bird, it'll get a car driving by, but is it the car driving by sound that I'd want for that visual? And often it's not. It's something wrong. Again, it's that analogy of like reading an article, and all the words are there that are talking about the thing I want to read the article about, but there's just something off about it. And it's not, sometimes you can't even put your finger on what it is, but you're just like, did AI create this? There's something weird.
That's the problem with AI in general, is I just kind of feel like, you can't really get great results out of it. And the amount of work it takes to get really great results is a lot of work. And in the end, like I think I saw like the prompt for one of these like AI generated commercials was like hundreds of pages long.
Yeah, it's like after all that, you could have just done a human could have done it with. The thing is that there's sort of this like, there's this thing about creative work where I sometimes think like it's almost intangible. Like sometimes you can't know where it came from, where the inner motivation of an artist came from that caused them to just make the subtle details in what they created happen. And they might not even know, but something in them, it's weird. It's almost like there's this force in the universe that comes into play when we create stuff. I was thinking about that with written words. Like when you read stuff, and I write sometimes, and you get a feeling from something you read, and you're like, where's that coming from? Because the actual words don't say the feeling I'm having. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think the same thing is true with a vocal performance. There are things conveyed by a human actor. If you see their face, it's in their facial expression, but there's tone of voice. There's little subtle things you hear people do with their voices that I don't know. I think one day AI could start even learning about that stuff too, but I just, there's too much emotional history that humans have that AI has zero of.
Yeah, I just feel
It's
like
just, not just emotion, just life experience, what they remember from their life and what they're performing and how they connect that together.
yeah.
And there's other stuff too, but
Well, I
that's
just
just
feel like AI is getting better, but it's never getting there. Like
Yeah.
it's like everybody's like, well, it's gonna get there eventually. I'm like, I don't know what eventually is because I don't know. If you've ever tried to really get results and then whether it's audio, video, text, and then you keep asking it to change and edit things as if you were a person who was working on something, it just like it's like after a while I just give up. I'm like, maybe I should just learn how to do this in real life instead of having this AI do it.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe that's a good thing about AI is you try a thing using AI and then it gets you to realize, wow, I could just do this, and then you do it, and it's a thing you've never tried to do before.
Yeah.
Like I'm having to create some promotional writing for my company recently, as I've done before, and you know, I have not really dived into using AI for anything, but I thought, you know, maybe this is a thing I could try, see what it does, and I go, will you look at my website and can you write like a pitch deck for my company?
Yeah.
And it's like, I can't look at your website. Sorry. Oh, thanks. Okay. But unfortunately, my website is a really good source of information for a pitch deck. It's perfect, actually. Everything's there. Why don't I do it myself? I don't know. I wanted to see what the AI would do, and I was feeling stressed getting ready to go to GDC. Sounded perfect. So then I said, okay, well, find info about me. There's plenty of public info out there. And somehow it wrote a thing. And, you know, so I'm talking about AI because this is my only experience right now of having used it for something that I can recall. I kind of backed up and I said, what slides would you have in a pitch deck for my company if I do A, B, and C? And this is, so it created an outline. I like that. I like the outline thing. And like, okay, I'll write the stuff in each of those bullet points myself. But then I got it to write some things. I noticed that it tends to use more adjectives than I think it needs to use. And it likes to use certain adjectives that give me the creeps. So I remove those. So it's kind of, for that sort of thing, I feel like it was good to give me kind of a starting point. But what it reminded me too of is that if I was writing my own thing, I might do the same thing, but I'd write it, and then what I have to do is get away from it and not think about it for a while and let my perspective because you know the whole thing about creating something is if you start going into edit mode too early, you want to start in brainstorm mode or open-minded mode where you're just creating stuff and not judging yourself too hard. And a mistake creative people make sometimes, or maybe anybody who's creating anything, is that you start trying to evaluate the quality of what you're doing too early. And I mean, that could be said for even groups of people working creatively together. So with the AI, I get an idea, I throw the idea to it, ask it to give me something, and what it's giving me is something that I have more objectivity about because I didn't create it myself. If some of my self-judgment comes from bad habits of self-judging, I don't know, I'm getting a little mixed up here on what I'm trying to say, I think. I'm tired, but using AI to write stuff, especially business promotional stuff, has been useful. Once I get in a better swing of that, I might find more creative ways to use it.
But AI is good for things that aren't necessarily, they don't have to be good.
Yeah, give me a rough pass.
Yeah.
Which I can do myself, and if I can speed up doing a rough
story
pass,
starter.
like sound effects, sure. I could give me a bunch of sounds. I need this, and this. It goes, and I stick those in the game. I mean, that might actually be faster than me digging through my sound library and just finding, I need footsteps, but it doesn't have to be perfect. I could see that speeding things up. Again, it's stuff that I'll replace later with stuff that I like. Yeah.
I feel like it's a augmentation, a tool, but I don't think at least it's not there yet to couch my words, but it's like it's not replacing anything that I've seen because I haven't really been able to get a suitable replacement out of AI for anything that could be better than a human. I mean, it could be better than a qualified human, let's say.
I'm trying to think back and about any other like new technology that's come in my lifetime that everyone thought was going to replace something, but then it didn't replace it, but it's still there and it's still useful. And I kind of feel like that's maybe what's going to happen with AI, is that it's not going to replace a lot of stuff, but it's going to get more useful as
it's like a
people
feature.
figure out how to harness what is good about it.